While relocating the Lone Pilgrim Cemetery of South Charleston, Ohio in 1954, making way for what would later be known as Highway US 482 running from Louisville to Cleveland. Several of other graves had been exhumed, and depending on the status of the casket variants, bodies relocated into fresh receptacles. One such was a grave of Jonathan Rash, born in 1843, and according to his headstone, he died in 1898, whose casket was distorted into the point that the lid had caved in, and dirt filled the container. Jeffrey Martin, funeral director of the Lone Pilgrim, signed off the disinterment, and the casket was carefully removed from its plot along with 82 others. Those 82, 14 required the body to be removed from its casket, all of which had been falling apart due to slight acidity of the soil in the region and the wildlife that had burrowed on the grounds. And those 14, one other, offered any semblance of explanation of the discoveries were made on those grounds that December. What remained of Jonathan Rash and the better left behind nearly illegible hand. No, I was buried alive, and I fear whenever this read, I will not be. I know I will not be. Curse the superstitions of my generation, giving a man such false hopes. Curse this wretched box and the wretched hands that put me. Steady yourself, John. You must. You know the oxygen will last only a couple of hours or more down here. And you know what you're down here, don't you? Your personal effects tell as much, Darlene. Bless her heart and follow my word to the letter, including this pen and pad from my breast pocket. Mere grave goods as I saw it, and I have to see it now, although I cannot see them plainly. Of course I know I shall never see them so, for though, Darlene, my prayer instructions have buried me with the pipe and lighter, I can feel them both against my thigh, breathe beneath the pad onto which I had scribbled this. I know even the smallest flame would swallow up the oxygen down here, and here faster than I could. So I lie in the darkness, utter darkness, black as pitch, like the womb, if one could remember it, and though just above my nose by an inch or two, I cannot see the roof with this wretched casket. Although I can see it plainly on my mind's eye, I did not pick it out myself after all, with its near almond shade and pillowy texture, smothering me without much as a touch. Lord, why had I chosen these damned mausoleum up here? Why had I not requested to be buried alongside a crowbar and a shovel? Ha! At least I hadn't willed to be cremated. No, John, no, not time for hysterics, no time for regrets, no time at all, only to breathe and breathe slowly, measuredly. Hyperventilating will only exacerbate this, and you know it. Remember your fallen brothers in the war, the ones ripped apart by bullets and blade. How would they grasp and heave as they lie on their backs, clutching themselves just as you know now. Stop that. For heaven's sake, you must. Breathe carefully. Breathe in, breathe out. Just like that, John did just like that, like a whistle through pierced lips that they taught you only in the service. 5 seconds in, 5 seconds held. 5 seconds out, and over and again until, damn it, this is fruitless. And you know it. What's the point anyhow? An hour of more living, perhaps? No, this is not living. This is breathing. Barely surviving. Holding your breath in the void until it takes you complete. Curse it! The damn pen keeps slipping from my fingers, which are trembling as it is. My whole body is wrapped in a thick layer of sweat that soaks the awful suit I'm pressed into. I feel as if I'm melting away, onto the brink of hell. No, hell is brighter. I'll tell you where I am, John. I'll tell you, Lone Pilgrim. Ha! How fitting for a name. Now how abysmally ironic. I'm under the sycamore, no doubt nearest that old bench and the grave of my late Uncle Henry. God rest his soul, should such a thing long exist. I could still remember the day of his funeral, a day from my youth, the fresh smell of the lilies, the cry of my mother, and the great sound of the church bell. The bell! The bell, John! That's it! In your panic you had forgotten all about it. Perhaps I owe the superstitions of this generation an apology, for the same ones that have given me such false hope had gifted me a real one in the form of the string above my head that I now pull, and pull, breathe, and breathe. John, don't excite yourself. Oh, who am I kidding? I cannot even hear myself think, for my heart beats in my ears like a drum as I scribble onto this with one hand and yank the blessed string on the other. Truly, Lord bless it. I know at any moment the undertaker, perhaps frightened out of his wits. Yes, I still hear the bell up there and dig out of this horrid earth. I suppose I am truly 6 feet beneath. The dig should take only a matter of hours at most, perhaps less to a trained grave digger. No, when he hears it. John, when? Alas, I cannot. The silence down here is deafening, and even if it weren't, the sound of my own heart would be, drowning out even the faintest of rings. So I wait. I'll wait until the bell is heard. Surely it is for churchyards, quiet places, unless it's raining up there. Either that or, Lord, I beg of you, that night has not fallen. I pray it isn't so, for indeed the daylight has retired. Then surely the undertaker has too. Even though his home rests on the graveyard's grounds, it is unlikely that it's such a small bell to be heard through the solid wall. Truly there's no way of knowing how long I've been down here, nor the timing of my ultimately burial, meaning I not know whether it was day or night, raining or cleared skied above, or whatever this string even rings a damn bell at all. Curse this box and the darkness it holds me in. Curse every false hope in my frantic heart. Oh, wouldn't it shut up? With such a healthy heart, how in God's name am I down here anyway? What a fool signed my death certificate? My brother-in-law? Ha 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 ha! No, I cannot stop laughing at the mere thought. But I must. You must, John. Remember the oxygen. Yes, remember. Now my laughter turns into tears, and they too cannot stop. Do you know why, John? I know why you do. No longer is merely the thought of dying in the box meant for the already dead, but running out of ink in this pen, out of paper in this pad. That thought rattles me to my bones. But enough bones. That one is sore topic. Again, I ask of you, how was I entombed prematurely? How? I had never grown ill, never suffered the palsy, never anything more than the common cold. Perhaps I had suffered some form of shock. Perhaps I had rendered myself drunken on wine. Perhaps it was a bit of both. Perhaps I had contracted an illness, whose very nature corrupted my memory of it. Or perhaps there is no good reason. Perhaps it was a simple misdiagnosis, a misread a bit of obscene penmanship. Lord knows this very pad will suffer the same fate. Perhaps the coroner feared the contamination on the account of my not-so-dead body and signed my certificate in haste. I know not why, but a minimum of speculation keeps my mind off of a current predicament. No, I am 14 pages behind in this initial record letter in the medical pad. The considerable distance, a secondary one was discovered. This note was like the first, was written nearly illegible hand, with tears in the paper throughout. However, unlike the previously recorded words of Jonathan Rash, the spacing, size, orientation, and the letters wherein were found to be considerably more unkept, complete with words that ran off the page in large paragraphs of text scratched all out together. For the sake of this documentation, these words have been preserved. Furthermore, it is apparent that this note was written under both great distress and lack of oxygen. It has to be read within such a context. However, this context does not explain the discoveries of October 1954, nor what remained of Jonathan Rash. I know not the hour of when I drifted off into slumber, but I have since awakened. What awakened me? I cannot, however, say it was verily be the stench. This stench, though I cannot speak with its certainty, likely proceeds from me. It is a foul offensive odor, an odor of excrement, and urine. It would seem in my rest that I have soiled myself, no doubt an effect of the immense stress on my body. You would think that I would feel these bodily fluids on my person, but alas I cannot, for my body has gone numb from the mobility and muscles have seemingly slowed. Even the hand that pens this very note with writing a considerably toughness. I consider these sensations, or rather lack thereof, of a blessing, if nothing else than to calm me. Likewise, the atmosphere about me has changed too. The air is stagnant and chilled. All the sound has escaped it, as it has my ears. I yell to make a certain deafness not overcome me. It hasn't. Blindness, on the other hand, I cannot be so assured of. Truthfully, I cannot be assured of any of my senses, for the senses are fickle things, just as man is. I recall a man from my battalion. I believe his name, too, was Jonathan, and the coincidence was a source of albeit meager comfort to him in his final moments, who swore to me that his last breath that there was a bullet lodged in his right leg, just above the knee. I didn't have the heart to tell him, nor did he have the time to hear me, but that leg had been completely severed, likely due to a landmine. Such like a phantom pain, a trick of the senses, and I fear that his numbness and his coolness across my body is of the same sort. All this new smell that fills my nostrils no longer have the stench of excrement that had seized me but moments ago, but this is the smell of food, smell of fresh meat, a savory scent, one that renders me to drool, although once more I cannot feel it. The sensation I know, but it is a tandem effort, both my mind and my stomach to torment me. Yet I humor this temptation despite knowing its origins. A scent that reminded me of my father, who, from an early age, readied my predispositions to both the medical sciences and the culinary arts. In fact, if not for the former, I suppose the latter would have been my vocation in my service. It was my father and his brother, my late Uncle Henry, who I presume is buried beside me at this very moment as I transcribe these words, who introduced me to Johnny cakes, cabbage stew, and head cheese, well before the mess cooks in Portland ever did, and his later dish had the head cheese, which I smell painfully now, despite my depth beneath the soil and sheer absurdity of such fair cooking above me. That is how I know the smell, however convincing. It's only in my mind. That is how I know. Perhaps a smell is the result of some wild critter burrowed beneath the earth, possibly even at the feet of my late uncle beside me. A mole, perhaps, a pesky rodent, or some kind of insect, God forbid. Such an insect rodent would have been large, monstrosity. No, I will not entertain the idea of such creatures feasting upon my departed relative. If such so, they surely would have then feast upon me. These are dreadful things to consider, however. Consideration and this pen and this pad to do so are all that I have, for I am alone down here. I am alone in the dark. Except for the creature beyond its wretched box, I share this company, do I not? Perhaps it was one of those large moles, a mother maybe, who's discovered her young dead. That would explain the sound and smell of meat, but not the one so delectable, unless I truly am going mad. Think of the scientists, which you love. Think of the medicine. Oh yes, how a nice hot tea of white snaker root may completely shake this chill, this fever, which has temporarily seized you. Surely it will only be temporarily, surely indeed. Perhaps the sound of it, but it's auditory illusion. One coming not from beside you, but from above. From the Undertaker's shovel, praise God. I will not be buried alive much longer. Yes, they do, in fact. They do if they're old. They do if they are worn. That is not Uncle Henry. You are the man of logic and science, John. You are a man above superstitions, babel, blah. This exactly is the humbug you have desperately quarreled with all your life. No, this is not the end. So as long as a sweet smell persists above, it will not be the end of Jonathan Rash. I just need to follow it, and by the sound of it, the scratching, the groaning, whatever the hell it is following it too, and it's not alone. No, I'm not alone. There are more sounds about me, more scratching, more groaning. Surely this damned lid above me can be opened if I just push. Hard enough. Blah, I'll break it. If I must. I must move. At least this rigidity and this stiffness which has seized me. I must. To get to the source of that bliss smell, I must. The remaining pages of medical pad were torn and empty, and was the casket itself, the remains of Jonathan Rash, along with those 14 other exhumed bodies, presumably the rest of 82 graves, along with the Lone Pilgrim Cemetery, have yet to be discovered.
What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, stay pretty.